Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello once again, welcome to iteration 46 of the Simulationist podcast. We're recording this on the 21st of July 2013. I am Josh Trelevin, and your other host on the other side is...
Ryan Kirkby.
Hey Ryan, how's it going this week?
Not too bad. I'm a little sad though. I just got back this week into the DC Universe Online. I'd taken a little break from it.
Yep.
Too many times running the dungeons over and over again for points to get better looking item here and there. Kind of wore on me, so I was focusing on my reading elsewhere. Got back in and realized this is the final weekend for one of their plot things. The Atlantean nation underneath the waters of the DC Earth is having like a civil war, and they're attacking like Metropolis and all that, and this is the last week to do mini raids to get points to get really sweet armor, and I'm not going to get any of that armor, it looks like.
Oh, you're going to miss out on the super sweet mini armor. Atlantean armor?
Atlantean armor, it's actually rather nicely styled. It makes you look like you're made out of a nice light blue water. Very nice style.
Oh, well, I hope that people are getting their hands on that. I don't play the game, so...
Lots of people are, but not me, because I missed out, and I don't think they properly mentioned it on the Facebook feed, saying, hey, new sweet gear, take a look at this, come play.
Oh, well, I guess you'll have to wait for the next one. Or can you get any of it yet?
I might be able to get it again next year, because it's called a summer seasonal, and I haven't read in as to whether or not they repeat it, or how you can get that, if it will ever come back again, or what.
Now, do you have a character on there with tons of different outfits and gear and everything?
Well, that's the thing, is because I like the theme of characters, I have a good character and a bad character, but both of them try to work towards their own style and design. My evil character is like an evil mummy. Yeah. Which is, blood red bandages, rah, looks nice and evil. So the chances of him actually having like a big chest piece that looks like torso's made out of water, very slim that I would use. But there's some nice little accoutrement items that look like it would have been nice. And it's always nice to say, hey, I got the sweet gear, look at it, should I ever wish to change my style.
So in DC Online, DCUO, DeQuo, to coin a phrase, coin an acronym,
We'll just do it a little...
acronym.
We'll just mess around with it and call it Ducko.
Okay. Anyways, so is it similar to WoW in that there's a city, like you run around Metropolis and you interact with other players?
There's two cities, Metropolis and Gotham. If you buy the expansion packs, you can go to stuff like the Flash's Keystone City, and there's stuff going on there.
Yeah.
But it's just the main two cities, and then for the good guys, you have the Justice League, Watch, Space Satellite, and for the evil guys, you've got the Hall of Doom.
Okay, how do you get to the Space Satellite?
Well, there's like bars or places, for the good guys, it's police stations. For the bad guys, it's like bars and clubs.
Okay, yeah.
And in each one of those, there's a spot in the back where you can use a teleporter to go where you want.
Okay, so there's teleporters.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. All right. And you were talking about Atlantis, but Atlantis doesn't have its own city or anything like that.
No, I believe the closest it has to it is a battle map, where you get yourself a group of people and you go fight the enemy. Okay. If you're good, they're the bad enemy. If you're bad, they're the good enemy.
Yeah, so there's no Atlanta. Remember that from Futurama? The Lost City of Atlanta.
Well, they finally went with the joke we'd all been thinking of for so long.
Yeah.
It was nice to get that out there and put it in. But no, there's no actual mermaids there. This is the DC universe. They're all just aquatic people that swim with both their legs better and faster than you and I can.
From what I remember of Aquaman, is he basically looks like a person. He's a guy that swims.
I wouldn't have minded if they actually had made him like an actual mermaid, but he gets on land and you give him a little bit, and legs change over, make him like a magical type creature.
I like the thought that he'd be a male mermaid.
Merfolk, Merlord.
Merlord, oh yeah, I think that's been used. Was that from The Little Mermaid? Did they have Merlords?
Well, I think it's just the proper term-based conjugation.
Sure, yeah, okay.
Maids and lords. So, but I would have been okay with that. It would have explained why he can swim faster than the average person, despite having the same bodily mechanics. Because there are a lot of people in the DC universe that have super strength, but they can't swim as fast as Aquaman. He's not more streamlined,
Does he? My question is this: does Aquaman swim faster than Michael Phelps?
I believe he technically goes at just under what is aquatic Mach speed.
Okay, so definitely.
And actually, seeing as how he manages to pop up at almost any given needed location on the ocean surface, either he swims incredibly fast or he just has teleporter technology he doesn't share with anybody else in the Justice League.
Or maybe there's multiple Aquamans.
Oh. No, I'm pretty sure his wife would have mentioned that.
Well, maybe she's in on it.
Well, there's multiple. Mira, the Aqua woman.
Oh, he's not married to the sea? Okay.
No, they tried that bit originally where he's the old man of the sea, but no, it was better for him to have a wife because he was going to be king of Atlantis.
So is she's Atlantean too?
She is Atlantean.
Okay.
Red-headed Atlantean, but I don't question much about why people have hair colors like that in the DC universe here and there.
Well, because the answer is that was so that they could draw them differently so that people would recognize which character was which.
Trust me, she's got enough hair, enough flowing hair, and especially these days, written with enough character, you can tell it's her even if you shaved her bald, which would have made her more hydrodynamically streamlined.
Oh, yeah.
On the other hand, she uses magic, so I guess it really doesn't matter. How does she swim so fast? Magic!
Yeah, sure.
But yes, I lament this week that although I got into it and I did enjoy the fights, my goodness, some people are rather dense as to what you're supposed to do to win the fights. Okay. You beat the enemy down to a certain point, make sure the ads don't get up too bad, and then you have to activate these 3 container beams that lock in on him, and then bam, he's defeated. Be it Ocean Master or Aquaman, it's basically the same fight, just, you target a different enemy.
Okay.
And then, you win. But, oh my goodness, so many people just don't know when you get knocked back, you go to these areas, activate them, you're done. You've got 4 people, 3 beams, you should be able to cover it every time. And yet, there have been 15-minute fights because the other 3 people just didn't know what to do.
Dope.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, that's the experience. The multiplayer online experience is that you get noobs. Not much you can do about that.
They happen. And honestly, I'll admit, technically, I'm a pretty bad noob myself. Just last week, I respect my character, my hero. I had it completely wrong. I was enjoying what I did, but my because I was playing like the DPS type, my DPS was horrible compared to what it is now.
Oh, okay.
Like I was fighting enemies, knock, 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 knock. Okay, one's down, on to the next one. Now, push a button, and then I start hitting people. 1, 2 hits down, 1, 2 hit down, 1 hit 2 down, 1 hit 2 down, and I'm just cleaning house so nicely.
Huh. That's interesting. And that's funny that a lot of MMOs will be that way because they'll require you to spec a certain way, and there are suboptimal specs. And I don't know why. What I don't understand is why games even have that in them.
I think it's an attempt to diversify the play style and then just have different options, but mathematically some options are better than the others. So if you want to be the top of your game, you have to be this kind of build. Which is why I like, from what I've heard of what WoW has done, whereby the stuff you invest in every 15 levels now doesn't affect your DPS or your tanking ability. It just stylizes it to how you would like. You can sheep 2 enemies instead of 1, or if you sheep them, they don't heal, or if you sheep them, the damage over time stuff doesn't disappear. It doesn't keep on going, but as long as they're sheep, it doesn't break and it doesn't go away.
Okay, so I guess the short answer then is balancing is hard to do.
Well, balancing is hard to do, especially if you don't want it to be that your choice is just style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's for those MMO makers, it's not a trivial problem to just say, why isn't every option the same?
Well, here's the thing: the only time when it does become, your options do become trivial is when their effects are trivial.
Yeah.
It's like saying you spend a point now. Oh no, you don't sheep people anymore. You turn them into monkeys or penguins or one of the other animals they use in WoW.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly valid and fun. Some people prefer a much more stylistic thing where it's like, oh yes, I want to be a soldier using an axe, rawr, and so I must use the axe. And turns out it's not good for their play style. Mm-hmm. Like my bad guy, he's doing the Egyptian, mummy motif. So what am I using for him for a weapon? I'm using a staff. Turns out this is a horrible solution for an idea. In a fight as a DPS, though, he's still dealing more damage than other people just because he's able to swing and get extra enemies with his staff, and he knows how to use it to stun and block.
Oh, that sounds good.
But that said, his abilities actually are much better as a ranged character. He should apparently be using magical arm fist bolts that you see all those generic superheroes and villains just doing. They raise their hand up and point, and all of a sudden energy comes out.
Okay. And this is not part of your respec that you were talking about.
No, this is on my villain. He's still a few levels away from max. Once he hits max level, I'll respec him out and actually have him be competent, I suppose. Which is good, because I'm not too wild on how he's being used right now. So.
Okay, being used by you or being used?
Being used by me. His selection of abilities and what he can do, I'm feeling, though, it's not what he could be up to.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to look at that a little bit more, poke and prod, read some forums, study.
Now, I'll ask another question to expand on. In DCU, with your villain, does your villain have some kind of goal of world domination? Because you'd think that's sort of what villains go for, right?
Mostly in the DCU, they work with mentors. You have one mentor for each of the main 3 types. Magical types will go likely with Cersei, Wonder Woman's main villain.
Okay.
Those who go with gadgets will most likely want to be mentored by the Joker.
Uh-huh.
And those who have meta abilities, just superpowers, will, for villains, likely go for Lex Luthor.
Okay, yeah.
Although Luthor seems to be more of a gadget-type person in theory, it works off of, the superheroes as well. Batman is a gadget guy, so he's good gadget. His enemy would be evil gadgets.
Okay, yeah.
Superman is a meta-human, so his evil counterpart, Lex Luthor, is evil metas, even though he's not a meta-human himself.
Sure, yeah.
So, but that's how it goes, and you tend to wind up being like an underling for them, rather than doing your own thing.
Well, okay, I mean, I guess that's the only way that you can really play a similar game to what the heroes are playing, because it seems to me that, a villain ought to be out for himself, and ought to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I have seen some nice stuff in other superhero MMO type stuff, where I think if you were to combine the best out of each, you really could play that sort of game.
Okay.
Like the City of Villains sort of stuff. There were a lot of quests you could do where it was about you gaining power and stealing it from others and just generally trying to ruin another person that the chance to make yourself even better.
Yeah.
And that definitely felt more like a villain. Whereas there's another game, the Champions one, where you get to make your nemesis. After level 25 or so, you create a second character. You don't play them, but when you're going through the scripted adventures, the randomly generated ones, who's your villain? It's your nemesis, the person you've perfectly created and tailored just to oppose you.
Oh yeah.
And I really like that sort of style. It seems a little bit more personal than I'm the villain and now I'm doing this thing and oh no, Superman fights me. But dude, it's Superman. I'm probably just like a 5-minute fight on his busy schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if I wind up fighting the daring do-gooder, my arch rival, my nemesis, oh, that feels like a much more personal battle to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So, there is no one perfect game yet. But if you take the ideas and the concepts for that, sort of all the good ones you have, you can definitely create your own best game, even if it's only pen and paper.
That's true. Well, maybe the best game is just sitting around telling stories with your buddies.
With a set of rules to make sure it doesn't devolve into like the old, proverbial cowboys and Indians. Bang, bang, I shot you. No, you didn't. Back and forth.
Yeah.
Something to make sure things stay at least somewhat fair. But yes, that was my week. All its greatness and all its sorrows.
Okay, so yeah, DCU Online for you. Okay, cool.
But what it does reinforce my opinion that a lot of these MMOs with their time-specific stuff does penalize the more casual player. I would like to definitely invest the time and do the stuff to get the items. I just can't do that continuously all the time and start up at on their schedule. I need to do it on mine. Sometimes it's a very busy work week. I'm very tired, or I want to focus on doing something else. I'm really reading this good book, want to finish it. Or, my kid's a little colicky. She's teething right now. I got to focus on her. I can't play any games right now. I can't work on their schedule. I would like it to be worked around my schedule.
I'm always amused by the thought of, like, a video game competing for the attention of somebody, like, competing with their family or their work, sort of. And, I mean, that's reality. Everything demands our time.
Well, that's the thing, too, is, and if it's good enough, it actually will compete. It's like, I guess I could go in the main room. It sounds like they're having fun there. My daughter's laughing a lot. But I've really been neglecting my video game character. They're getting a little dusty. No, it's never come that way to me, but I have heard occasions where that has caused some marital strife.
Yeah.
For those who can't properly construct a pyramid of hierarchical needs and what you should focus on first.
Right.
Family comes before video games.
Yep.
That's just how it is, I'm afraid. Oh, okay, I'm technically not afraid, but for those out there who have a problem differentiating it, I'm afraid I have to tell you this.
Yeah, I think that's
family trumps, your video game characters. No matter how much you want to play them, no matter how much you promised everyone else online you'd help raid, your family comes first. At least until, the kid's asleep, then game like mad crazy.
No, it's good. Okay, so...
so how about you this week?
I get to tell you about lots of Minecraft and some... I found a mushroom biome.
It's fun times, isn't it?
It is. It's fun. This is great because I have large biomes on, so that's basically everything. All the biomes are 16 times as big. Oh,
so it's a big island then, eh?
And it is a big island, and it was very hard to find because if the lengths, the distances are times 16. That means that if you have to search in a square area, it's squared. So
that's 16 times 16
is 256 times the times the travel. So I was mapping out huge areas, and I think I mentioned last week that it was like, so tedious doing all this mapping. I can't believe. Well, I finally did all that mapping, paid off, and I found a mushroom biome which is 1,000 blocks wide by about 1,200 tall.
Oh my goodness!
North to south.
So now that you've got this wonderful playground, are you going to do anything with it?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, all I've done now is I plopped a nether portal down on there, so I can get, and I built a nether railroad to it, so I can get there from my spawn continent, basically. So I've got that far. I explored the whole thing because that took a little while, like even the interior of it. At first,
because they're very high up, very very much a cliff face sort of thing. It's not just I'm just going to walk around like it's small hills.
Yeah, well that's true. Although the cool thing about this one is it has like a plain, like most of it is kind of hilly and like typical, but it has this one sort of section in the north central area of it where it's very flat and it's like a plain. So I think I want to do something really cool there in the plain. I have all these plans, but all I have is like a couple chests and another portal. And
hey, that's more than I usually wind up having. Like I'd like to get back into the adventure I was having, with the biome I've got set up, because I know I want to get back there. I want to, restart and polish off what I was doing last time.
Yeah, well, I've seen your fortress in the nether, or your fortress in the
mushroom
biome. Yeah,
it's not bad. I think I can rearrange some stuff, make a better staircase. Like, I remember we were discussing, as you're looking at it, I have a nice roundabout, traditional style staircase, but spiral. It's a rather tall spiral, and it gets a little nauseously dizzy after a while. So I was doing some work about creating a combination one, where it would be a spiral staircase around what is effectively just a ladder staircase. So, it's a ladder up, down, in the center, and then you can mark off, and leave where you want, and it'd be a little easier.
Yeah.
It would make every floor about 8 blocks high, though. So I don't know what I'd do to, either make them every floor 2 blocks thick to decrease that a little bit, or...
Yeah, that's always nice. Although they added carpets, so you don't necessarily... I was thinking...
And the carpets are non-flammable, so in case a fire ever happens, it's one less problem.
Oh, are they not flammable? Okay.
Apparently no, even though the blocks they come from are flammable.
Yeah.
So. But, I suppose it's okay. I was planning on like effectively carving out the side of a cliff face, replacing it with glass, and then just having some nice trees growing up there, so you could actually make it look like they're getting their light from outside, even though it'd still be torches.
Oh, and I planted grass, like a little area surrounded by cobblestone with grass, because I read in the code, I was looking at different rainfall rates, and I saw that, Mushroom Islands have the highest rainfall of any area in the world.
I'll believe that. That place was raining like Seattle.
Yeah. And I guess it would make sense that it would be so moist and so, like, I don't know, mildewy or whatever. I don't know.
Apparently humid when it's not raining. I can imagine that.
Yeah, sure. So I planted the grass to see it, and it's a very nice bright green color. It's very cool.
Because that was one of the other things I wanted to get going on, is up at the very top of my my natural cliff face tower. I wanted to get rid of all the purple stuff and just put in some actual grass up there.
Yeah.
And say this is my little green sanctuary up top here. But I have to get back into it, and I've forgotten just how difficult the game can be when you're just starting out. And it's a little more difficult this time around because of the new AI update to the zombies.
Ah, yes, the zombies.
They can really know where you are from quite the distance away.
I think I have not seen a zombie that wasn't interested in me, because pretty much as soon as you can see them, they can see you. I think that's how.
Or will at least sense you.
Yeah.
They seem to be able to know where I am, even when I've blocked everything off.
Yeah, some kind of supernatural, or maybe just.
Well,
I don't know.
I call it zombie sense, really, because in the movies they always seem to be able to sense you out. They know you're in the mall, and that's why they all start congregating there by the hundreds at the doors. That's the only explanation, is they got some sort of life sense. They know where the living are, and that's where they follow.
I guess so, although the explanation that I heard for why the zombies went to the mall was because it was built into their instinct. It's like, muscle memory. It's like, I go to the mall. Like, because
So if the zombie apocalypse was to happen, zombie me would still be rooting through the used bookstores trying to find those rare books?
Yeah.
Huh.
Zombie you would basically go to all the places that sentient or awake or alive you.
Oh, that means I'd be going back to work, though.
Yeah.
That's pathetic and sad. And zombies aren't exactly the most glorious of undead either. That makes it even worse. It's not like I'd be like a vampire going back to haunt, and hurt those who I once, worked with. Ha ha ha. No, I'd just be a shambling, like rotting corpse, completely destroying any sense of hygiene in my work environment.
And this would be different from normal life, how?
I think I wash my hands more when I'm alive than I ever would as a zombie. I've never seen a zombie wash their hands, not even the people that seem to have like OCD.
I was just, that wasn't serious. But anyways.
No, actually, following through on the logic about zombies repeating what they did, I actually wouldn't mind seeing a bit where there was a person who has the OCD and then the cleaning problems, becoming a zombie and washing their hands down to the bones.
There we go.
That would be a nice... Done? One way could be very humorous, done another way, deeply disturbing.
Yeah, I think
how serious you want to play
you
the
could
whole
have both. I've seen some stuff done in recent zombie movies that's both funny and disturbing.
Well, it depends on what aspect you want to play up. It's like, oh, haha, they washed out someone down to the bone, versus this is a compulsion so bad, if it wasn't for the regeneration of the human living body, they would do this while alive. Skeleton hands. Be a nice way to identify the zombie, too. You know, like afterwards, when they're attacking people, it's, oh no, it's skeleton hand zombie. So, might make for an interesting zombie character. Because let's face it, the one thing most zombies lack for their movies is actual character. Except for the Night of the Living Dead, or in Return thereof, ones where they actually speak. Because they do have that tar zombie.
Okay, yeah.
If you haven't seen those, I do recommend you watch them. Be a little careful who you watch them with. They do have an interesting amount of nudity. So, you know, it could be a little awkward.
Yeah.
Like, don't watch this.
Nudity warning, folks.
Well, I recall just from the first, Return of the Living Dead, there was a scene with like a stripping on the top of a grave thing. It was definitely thrown in just to help boost the people who were going to go see it in the drive-thrus. It was not plot related.
Okay, yeah.
But then again, you really don't expect a whole lot out of that sort of genre.
Yeah, true. One other thing with, if we're done talking about zombies, are we done talking about zombies?
Well, there's the whole extra bit now with zombies in Minecraft, where apparently if you look away, there's a chance they'll multiply.
That's right, yeah.
I haven't tested that a whole lot because I don't have enough weaponry and protective stuff on to risk fighting 4 zombies simultaneously. But once I get a little bit more prepped, it sounds like it might be fun.
I had some zombie fights, and they were just appearing out of nowhere. And I could have sworn they just appeared, like, directly in front of me, although they might have been behind a bush or something. But it looked to me like it was just, here's another zombie, just materializing. Just
throw another one at
for
you
to fight.
Some angry GM in the game code. I throw another zombie at you. So you think it's so easy this time, eh?
I think it's a little bit cheap, but I guess, it didn't hurt me that
Honestly,
bad.
zombies are a cheap monster.
Yeah.
Their strength comes from numbers.
Yeah.
That's why when you're playing Magic the Gathering, they're very weak, but they're very easy to summon and regenerate back up. C'est la vie.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, other than that...
I wanted to mention one other thing about the mushroom biome is I was looking around at YouTube videos online. I was like, I wonder what other people have done. So I was like, I wonder if I could turn the entire island into grass. And then, I'm watching some YouTube videos and, some guy did that. Somebody did that and posted it on YouTube. They weren't quite done by the time they posted it, but they were basically turning the entire island just into grass. So
that sounds like a little bit of a shame, really, because if you were doing it right, because they're so highly tiered, you could wind up creating like a mesa type system where it's high up or multiple layers effectively isolated by vertical height, and then you could alternate it between the mycelium and the grass.
Yeah, I might do that. Do you think mycelium would be low down, sort of near the water?
Definitely on the base level of the whole thing.
Yeah, and you have grass higher up, and then maybe stone at the top, maybe even snow at the top.
If you can work it, definitely, yeah. I think it could be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And if you have a mod that allows you to do a weather generator, you could really have a lot of fun with like localized snowstorms up at the top, and then you could be like the evil wizard at the top of Mount Mushroom.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I kind of wish I knew how to code. I could make up some really sweet, entertaining mods.
If you download MC Edit, you can use that to change biomes. So you could create a little snow biome at the top. So when it rained, instead of rain, it would be snow at the top of your mountain.
But see, the thing with me is that if I started on that, I'd feel guilty because I have so many half-finished mods in Dwarf Fortress that, unfortunately, I don't get a chance to get into as much anymore because I have a little baby daughter, and to really get into the coding of Dwarf Fortress, you got to sit down, study it, and make sure you're doing it right step by step. Otherwise, you got a lot of debugging later.
Mm-hmm. So you still plan on finishing that eventually?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've got them halfway finished. I need to just do a double check, do a quick testing in the arena to make sure they operate properly, and that not as soon as they appear, It's like, oh, I forgot to put skin on them, and they wind up bleeding all over, which is entertaining in its own sense, yes. Yeah. But I would like to put out a finished product to the community that doesn't have such odd and disturbing and unnecessary quirks.
Very good. Yeah.
So, there I am. I'm also doing some interesting testing with trying to get dual gendered creatures. Because right now, they have harpies in the game. And harpies are female, winged, humanoids. Yep. They like to attack people. They're a nice monster for evil lands. But they're only ever female. There is no male caste for them. There's no male half of them. They just spontaneously appear, and once they die of old age, it's not like they'll ever have a kid.
Sure.
So I would like to try and figure out a way to either make it look like they're all female, but there are secretly males within there that can wind up breeding.
Okay.
So that they can actually have like at least a false but female-only race.
Yeah.
And that way they can pester you for generation upon generation, or if you capture them, you can wind up breeding them somehow.
All right.
So.
Yeah. Do they lay eggs?
They would lay eggs. There's coding for that whole thing, and that's what I've been testing on.
Okay.
Whether or not I can simply add, female and male to both castes, and will the eggs be viable? Will they wind up procreating? In different ways at testing that. See how it works. There's still a lot to be done in the code, though. I mean, there are horses, there are mules, there are donkeys and all that, but they don't interbreed. They're all effectively considered separate species.
Okay, yeah.
Even though some of them don't have a way to reproduce, like the sterile mules.
Sure.
So that causes some issues. It's on the list of things to fix, but there's a long list of things to do, and it's just the one guy.
So there's one guy. There's one main guy.
There's the one guy who does all the coding, and one his brother who helps him out with how to implement the whole thing. He helps out with the stuff. He writes some stories too to keep people's interest in there.
Okay.
But it's just the one guy coding.
But then there are like community people who do.
There are community people that do mods, but they can't actually change anything. They can only utilize the tools that are being given.
Okay. Yeah.
There are a few really good people that can do some binary hacks, so that if a problem is occurring, like there's an error where once it starts to rain, it will never stop. And this is bad in some areas because the rain will be acid. It melts skin and bones. So once it starts raining, the entire surface of the map is completely unusable. Anybody and everything entering it will instantly die a horrible bloody death.
Yeah.
So they have some binary hacks that will switch it off and revert it back. They usually winds up getting fixed within the next patch update. But that's about as big as things get without getting deep into there and getting the actual programmer a little angry. It's his baby, after all. It's his vision.
Yeah, sure.
That's what he's doing for a living. It's his bread and butter.
Yeah.
So, there's stuff. I like to try and cheat the system to make it work, even if it doesn't really work. Like, you can get musical instruments in the game, but they don't do anything. You sell them, and that's about it.
Okay.
But you can create that so, like, a character can grab an instrument and do, like, a reaction where they're playing the instrument, but it doesn't actually make any sound. It doesn't generate any joy or anything. It can increase their musicality skill or whatever skill you really want it to, but it doesn't really work as what you would imagine musical instruments really acting as. So, c'est la vie for now. It is planned to fix that. They can, in their spare time, they'll grab like a drum and they'll play the drum, and when they're sitting down relaxing. Yeah. But they can't do that yet.
Well, there's not sound in the game though, right?
There is sound in the game. For instance, if you are mining out a stone, that one area, when it goes away, every square within 8 blocks, x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, 8 blocks every direction, hears that, and that'll wind up waking some dwarves. So you can't put, like, the dwarves' beds next to the mines. It will wake them up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So there's that sort of stuff. Combat causes noise. Collapsing causes noise.
My question is, do you, the player, hear anything?
No. That's what makes it a little difficult. On the other hand, there's a nice little song that plays in the background all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of like the Diablo theme when you're in town, but it's something only you hear. Your dwarves technically don't hear it.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a weird combination system. You can't hear what they do. They can't hear what you hear.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about one other thing that I've been doing, and that is participating in the Minecraft forums. I mean, there are so many different forums for different games. So one of them is Minecraft has its own forum, so I've been on there. And I've been posting suggestions, and I've just been having fun with kind of almost out there suggestions, which I think are really interesting and good. But I have been getting an interesting level of negative feedback from them, which is I'm enjoying the feedback, but it's also a little bit odd that people are not enjoying what I'm saying. I'll tell you the one that that put up there is I was thinking that now you can tell me if this is horrible because I was being told that this is the worst idea ever. But I was thinking that you should be able to get about 12 horses, or like if you can get 12 horses into the end and feed them to the Ender Dragon. The Ender Dragon eats them one at a time. That then the Ender Dragon would become like kind of passive and would not want to fight you, and then you could ride it.
That might be an interesting secondary victory condition, at least until they do something with the Ender Egg.
Yeah. And then I put in the caveat that you would have to keep on feeding it horses to keep, otherwise it would turn against you again. But
so that's actually not too far off of how you initially tame creatures in Dwarf Fortress.
Oh yeah.
You capture them in a cage, and then they're all wild, and then you feed them. And depending on how well you are skilled at domesticating animals, to the individual dwarf, by the way, it's not like they have a group skill, although there is some amount of how well they're familiar with the creature. Like dwarves are more familiar with underground creatures, so they'll have a better familiarity, better chance at making them semi-wild. Now you got to keep training them and feeding them and upkeeping them, otherwise they will wind up going feral again.
Yeah.
And which can be rather nasty because you'll have a situation where it's like, oh, this giant cave spider, I have domesticated it. No, I didn't. It's gone incredibly wild, and it was in the dining hall. Everybody's coated in webs. No one's moving, and it's slowly killing them each with one bite to the head apiece.
Very good.
So yes, I would say that's not a bad idea, at least until they do something with the Ender Egg. For the Dragon's Egg, I would think that would be an interesting mod just for a secondary win condition.
Yeah, that's right. Because the only way to win now is you just kill it. That's kill the. I mean,
it's not bad. Killing a dragon is a classic fantasy trope for I've done the best I can.
Yeah.
But you don't get to ride a dragon, and that's kind of awesome too.
They have mentioned though in Minecraft that the devs have mentioned that eventually they're going to add a red dragon.
But they don't have that yet, and that's the thing. Until they get that, I think what you're talking about for a mod is a nice secondary alternative with an interesting challenge rating to it.
I would think so, and I think it wouldn't be easy because horses are. It's not that easy to get 12 horses and get them all down to your Ender portal, which is usually far underground.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's closed once you go through, right? Until you defeat the Ender Dragon, or.
Yeah, that's right. Well, basically, I mean, that might change, I suppose, if you were able to ride the dragon. I was thinking there might be a button just appears, leave peacefully, and you just click leave peacefully, and then you respawn in the real world or something like that. But then you'd have to feed it another horse when you got back.
Horses. Yes. So that's not bad.
But people say, oh, but I love horses. I don't want horses to die.
Well, you know what? I like the spiders, and I can't domesticate them at all. I would like to milk the spiders so I can get some web. I can't do that. No. I can't do anything. I can't put a saddle on them. So you just be happy with your horse, and if they need to be eaten for food, that's actually what happens for a lot of horses in real life, buddy. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Oh, we're sorry to tell our listeners that.
Dude,
really,
they are a wonderful food delicacy elsewhere in the world. I've been told horse meat tastes pretty darn good when cooked right.
No, he's lying to you people. They all go to a nice farm where there's lots of grass for them to eat, and they run around forever.
No. They get cooked up. I've been told they're on par with rabbits when you cook them right.
Oh, just like rabbits. No. He's lying about that too.
I am totally not. Barbecued rabbit tastes amazing. It is twice as good as chicken.
Oh no. Poor listener. Well, I hope our listeners have.
By the way, are there any mods that incorporate rabbits into to Minecraft? I could go for some rabbit hunting in my game.
Yeah, there are rabbit mods, and I'm not sure if they have rabbit meat, but probably because chickens have meat. So
yeah, just get a little rabbit, food there.
Yeah, you might want to get Dr. Zark's mod, the Mo Creatures. He made the horses originally. If his name sounds familiar to you, you may have heard it. He also did, hundreds of other animal mods, including, I'm sure, rabbits and bears and deer and everything.
I think they'd also look nice because there are carrots in the game. So if you want to domesticate, a rabbit, carrots right there.
Makes sense. Yeah, carrots.
It's a classic example. Although really, rabbits will eat pretty much any sort of veggie, so you could give them you could give them apples too, and that should be good. I'm not allowed to domesticate zombies. I can't have any pet zombie hordes. I'm not allowed to do that. So you'd be lucky you get horses at all.
Well, you can. I guess you can trap a zombie. I guess it won't be domesticated. You can trap it, and if you give it an
I'm not asking for anything crazy. I'm not asking to domesticate anything really nasty.
Yeah.
None of those hissing bomb freaks. I don't want any of those guys. I don't care how domesticated they are. I don't want them anywhere near my place.
I can think of some uses. Use them for mining.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just take the old-fashioned ways.
Well, yeah. There is TNT. That'd be a little more controlled.
Yeah. Actually, no, I kind of like TNT better because I hate those things. I hate those creepers. And the fact that I need to kill 4 of them to make some dynamite makes me even happier. Every time I want to blow up something with TNT, I got to kill 4 of them. I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah. You can also kill ghasts. Have you been to the Nether?
No, sadly. Almost all of my work has been just muddling about on the prime material plane, the home world, whatever they call it.
I think it's called Overworld, at least in some circles. I think on the wiki, that's what it is. It's Overworld.
Okay. Or Baseland. It's the Baseland.
Call it that, yeah.
But yeah, I just have so much fun digging around and exploring stuff there. I haven't had much of an urge to go exploring the other facets of reality.
All right, yeah. Well, the Nether, it's its own kind of game. It's like its own experience. So I'd say it's worth going. Do you have diamonds?
I can get to diamonds. I just never make them a huge priority. Must dig deeper, find them right away. No, man, I'm playing around. I'm making my semi-castle walls up here, testing out staircases, turning a small island off the coast of my mushroom biome into a perfect sphere, or as good as you can get on a cube style.
Sure.
And then I actually really wanted to test out finding some of those zombies, the zombie villagers that randomly spawned.
Yeah.
And converting them back into regular villagers, and then starting up my own village there.
I think you may need netherwort to do the potion for them.
But to get that first, I need to make the island perfectly circular and get things ready so that I can at least get a villager and keep them safe first once that does happen. I'm not going to wind up losing them to, turn my back, zombie ate them. I'm going to do better than that. Even if it means walling them up for a little while.
Have you experimented with buckets of lava?
I have had some fun with that before. I usually wind up eventually catching on fire, so I have to keep a bucket of water with me too. Yeah. It happens.
Well, bucket of fire, bucket of lava. You're halfway there to a nether portal because you can make obsidian with that. So.
Yeah, but doesn't it consume the source of the?
Yeah, you'd have to have like 10 buckets of lava.
Yeah. I'd use my lava for just pouring off the side of stuff and making my place look super evil badass.
Oh, that's good too, yeah.
So,
Have you ever been able to make a cobble generator too? Or a cobble, waterfall?
I've been able to fiddle around with that and get it, but honestly, my digging processes get me so much cobblestone anyways. I got 3 or 4 chests full of the stuff. I don't need a generator at this point.
Although I remember you like to fill in, ravines and stuff with gravel and whatever.
Well, yeah, especially when I'm exploring an abandoned mine shaft. Just, it's like, okay, I've explored this end, there's nothing here, and I've got all this gravel I'm not using. I'll just fill it up and make sure I don't get lost down this way as I back myself up.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, it might suit you if you had a bucket of lava and a bucket of water. You could fill in areas with cobblestone, but I guess it sometimes misses spaces, but I don't know.
Or just make the cobblestone generator and then just backfill in with cobblestone.
Yeah.
Or if I really want to be sneaky about the whole thing, properly put it through the smelter into regular stone and then just fill it in and make it look like nothing was ever there.
That's very good.
That's a little extra resource and time intensive. I don't know if even I would do that, though.
Mm-hmm.
As it is, I just consider that stuff, just a nice spot to throw my gravel into. I use my sand for the island just so I can fill an area up and then dig it out and put dirt back in there. So I don't have much of a need for gravel these days.
What I used to use gravel for was to get more gravel. Because they used to have gravel beaches, right?
Oh yeah.
So I would put glass all around the outside of the. Well, because the gravel would go down under the water, so I'd put glass all around that end of it. And then I would fill in the water on the inside of, I'd make a little bay or whatever. On the inside, I'd fill that all in with gravel, and then I'd dig all of the gravel up. So that's how I would use gravel to get more gravel, basically.
C'est la vie, it's a system.
Yeah, but I also make roads and stuff, rail beds with gravel. So
I've been experimenting more with mixing things up. So if I'm going to make like a bridge or a roadway, I'm going to try and make it out of more than just one item from now on.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It just seems that the mono style doesn't look as good as some of the stuff I'm seeing online with the pictures. Like, wow, this looks like an amazing house. How did they do it? Oh, they used more than one type of material. That's a nice start.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of recommended to use kind of 2 primary materials, and you can use a highlight, a third, but you don't want to get into tons and tons of different materials.
No. There's something like overdoing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm exploring more out with that, so I'm devoted my time and resources elsewhere when I am back into it. But right now it's a rather hard time because I can't go out at night because I don't have any bow or arrows to get rid of the creepers at a distance, and those zombies are freaking everywhere, and I keep backing myself up, and then I start hearing hiss.
Well, do you not even have a bed right now?
No.
Oh, you're not even that far. Okay.
Actually, the last time I saved, I had just gotten some iron, and I made into shears, and I think I know where some sheep are, so I can make a bed. But I haven't gotten there. I had to save, log off, go to sleep, so I could be a productive member of society the next day.
Yeah.
Silly me.
I suppose that. Does that cover what we've been doing for the week? That's pretty long what we've been doing. So we had a main topic, right?
Yes. It actually came to me just before the podcast. My wife was playing with the daughter out in the main area, and she had Inspector Gadget on in the background. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to me, Dr. Claw has the same 6 agents. 2 short guys that are, kind of fat, 2 short guys that are kind of skinny, and 2 big guys that are kind of beefy. Right. Now, every 3rd episode or so, Gadget will go somewhere and there'll be a specialized agent just for that area. So clearly, the artist could have made unique agents all the time, but they kept reusing these same 6 almost too stupid to live agents.
Right, yeah, iconic minions.
Iconic bumblers.
Bumblers, yeah.
Well, they were definitely on par with Gadget for skills. The only way they looked halfway competent was when they wound up, bumping into Penny and capturing her for maybe 5 minutes.
That's interesting because Gadget actually has some pretty serious powers. Like he's got he's a powerful dude.
He's got lasers, he's got helicopters, he's got extensible arms and legs.
But his main weakness is that his head is always in the clouds, right? His main weakness is...
I don't know. His head isn't even in the clouds, man. His head is somewhere orbiting, the sun, but we don't know around what sort of orbital path it takes.
I think they've even
out there.
They've even done some gags where his head is literally in the clouds because he raises his go-go gadget neck.
There's sometimes so he doesn't. The only time he ever seems to chase after anyone is when it's after his dog in disguise, and it's not a good disguise. So there's something in his brain that says, "This one person, I have to chase them down," and it's always his dog.
Huh. Well, he is kind of computer-like. Maybe there's like a computer thing in his brain.
There's a couple of glitches in there, and maybe a few bugs, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But no, I was looking at these agents, and I was thinking to myself, this is an interesting archetype. The reusable minions. They apparently get arrested, like at the end of every episode. They're always being seen hauled away by the cops, and then, Gadget says, I did good, and then up in the sky, away goes Dr. Claw. I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Yeah.
And then I remember thinking as I was watching this is a far different style than what they had over with G.I. Joe. The Cobra, assault troops, basic troops, everybody that winds up there, they don't always seem to get arrested. They're virtually immortal. Like they'll be flying helicopters. The helicopters will blow up, and then you'll see their little parachute float off. No one dies in any of the plane crashes. Doesn't matter how many people get shot down. Always a nice little umbrella pops out. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
No one gets hurt by this.
I think that's done on purpose by the writers. Yeah.
But no one dies from that. And when they take off their masks, they're like ordinary people. They're not just, the same two kind of people cloned over and over again. It's used as a gag sometimes. That, and to get these number of minions, they clone the same person over and over again. But that's not true. They're regular people that have willingly accepted the Cobra lifestyle. There's apparently entire secret cities for the Cobra stuff to do. And, they have their own entertainment stuff. They have their own bars. And they're people. They take off their masks. They wear a business suit. You can't tell them apart from anyone else, aside from the fact that they're just really, really big jerks.
Now, Cobra, I've mentioned this before. The whole G.I. Joe show, the one we know,
the
from our
stuff, yes,
childhood, that would have been Cold War era. So I suppose are Cobra communist analogs, or do you think they're like communists, or are they more like anarchists, or?
They are always identified as terrorists.
Okay, so they're terrorists.
So they're not quite the Soviet bloc style evil, even though some of their main lieutenants have the accent that would identify them as such.
So they have the kind of like Eastern European or Russian.
Well, particularly the Baroness, yes.
Okay, yeah.
But no, they're a little different, and it just seems so much of a different design as to what constitutes being like a minion. And then if we want to go over with other cartoons, you have the Care Bears. They weren't great heroes by any stretch of the means, but they did have one really good villain, No Heart. This guy was scary. When he shows up, the Care Bears don't try and say, we'll save the day. No, it's protect yourself, get out of the way. He has the same sort of protocols for a tornado. You don't go out into a tornado and say, I'm going to swing a bat at you until I win, tornado. No, you duck, you cover, you hide, you play it safe. You don't go for any offensive gambit against this force of nature like No Heart. You try your best to hide from the distance. If you get a clear shot, then go for it. But otherwise, you don't face, not head on, not directly.
But you would face his minions. You're like, who cares about
it? Was
minions?
Beastly. His minion is so... he is apparently a technical genius. He has a helicopter he can use by his own feet. His feet are tiny sticks, and yet he's still able to get enough power and lift. This helicopter will support his round little body.
Well, he might be filled with helium.
Maybe. That's a good theory as any. Maybe he's not really that round. Maybe it's just a whole lot of fluffy hair. But no, he generally seems to be kind of a round-bodied, skinny, stick arm and leg kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's got the beastly guy. He's got the shadowy minions that possess people and make them do jerkish things. Not evil, just being like a really jerk. You know, picking on people, like knocking their bag of groceries over, and like small level graffiti. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then eventually later on, his niece winds up coming, to stay with him, and she's like I guess maybe a lieutenant minion for him.
Okay.
But they never get caught. There's no jail. The Care Bears can't take Beastly away to. That would have been pretty awesome, though. Some sort of like jail reform school where they teach him to be a better person. Would have been quite the interesting conundrum. But given that the whole series was based off a bunch of greeting cards, nobody was expecting anything deep out of them.
I guess so.
But these are 3 different types of what is effectively the minion role.
Okay, yeah.
And so I find that quite interesting from these 3 standpoints about their immunity to either prosecution, deadly effects, or otherwise, negative, ailments. When Batman hits a minion, that guy's teeth wind up cracking. A few of them fly out of his skull, and he is busted by the cops later on. And the Joker may not get the chair, but some of his minions do serve hard time.
Yeah, true. Okay, so if you're the evil villain, what are your options for minions? Like what?
Is there some way that you can only have certain sorts of minions? Is it? I mean, to some degree, it's got to be based off of the quality of the hero. The Care Bears would not do anywhere near as well if No Heart had Cobra Commandos. If, No Heart was able to get a bunch of commandos to storm Care-a-Lot firing ray weapons, the Care Bears would be just completely... They got nothing, man. They got nothing.
That's true.
And he could... because the Cobra Commandos can actually pose as, like, regular people. He could do this whole covert war thing, in the regular place. He stages like an evil actor, like a careless act. The Care Bears come down, and then the people that here, let me help you. This is wrong. Next thing you know, bam, slap to the back of the head. Care Bears don't see it coming. So clearly, because of the nature of the hero, he seems almost as though this wonderful epic style villain character, No Heart, who is scary, and he definitely radiates the aura and the menace of I am not to be messed with, is saddled with minions that are just so weak, so lame.
Yeah. Now, is he that evil? Is my question. Like, I don't even remember much of the Care Bears, but
he wasn't exceptionally evil. He did want to destroy all love on Earth, which is arguably on par with trying to rule it. That is a very cruel act, trying to eradicate love on Earth.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty evil.
Yeah. But whether or not he was evil, he definitely had the aura projected of this is a big bad. Yeah. When he shows up in front of the heroes, they don't rush to face on. It's dive, duck for cover, and assume like a scrambling gorilla stance.
Well, but I mean, the interesting thing though is I've seen that reaction in when there's I watched a show where it was about a hotel with illegal immigrants working at the hotel. Mm-hmm. So when the supposed good guys, the immigration, the police show up, which I guess that's debatable whether the police are the good guys, but you sort of kind of assume that the police are the good guys. So only this is immigration or whatever, some department. So they come into the hotel, and all the people who are undocumented, the workers, they all have to hide. They have to scatter, run away, because here's the police. So they're not the police aren't, the bad guys. I guess in a certain way they are, but it's not like they're going to kill the immigrants or something like that. They're just going to, arrest them and
steal them away to another land. They're almost like the boogeyman.
Yeah, I suppose.
But no, I like to work it as comparisons to other villains. When Cobra Commander stands up in front of the G.I. Joes, they don't quake in fear. They don't dive for cover. Sergeant Slaughter insults him, runs at him, and goes to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
You do not see a Care Bear see, No Heart's there. I'll say, get out of here, No Heart. You have no power, and I'll blast him with my chest beam.
So you heard it here first, folks, on the Simulationist podcast. G.I. Joe and the Care Bears, different.
Well, it's the amount of fear they have on their opponents is very much tells. Cobra Commander was not a good leader. Wily, I'll give him that. He was wily. He was able to turn a losing situation to at least enough of his advantage that he gets away, or he doesn't get arrested, or he's able to recover from it. He's got backup plans, so he's wily. but he's not, he doesn't invoke fear in the hearts of the heroes. Like when Gadget shows up, and like the Mad Agents, they apparently aren't able to see his incompetence. They hide, they gotta play, they gotta act straight, they gotta make sure he doesn't spot them as Mad Agents. So he invokes fear in them. Yeah. And when Dr. Claw gets on his, what is it, TV, computer phone.
Yeah, when he phones the agents.
Yeah, when he talks to them, oh boy, are they afraid of him. He invokes real fear. They are willing to go up against Gadget, get themselves arrested again, just to make sure they don't have to deal with angry Dr. Claw slamming his fist down one more time.
So Cobra's agents, like I don't even remember a lot of these cartoons, but Cobra's agents don't fear Cobra Commander the same way?
No, they pretty much have like an almost open contempt for him from some of the stuff I've been watching.
Huh.
That's why they wound up coming up with the Serpentor character. Is they basically say, you are incompetent and you cannot lead us to victory. We will create a person who can do better than you, and they almost succeed.
Interesting, because that's two very different styles of leadership. One is the you'll be afraid of me and do what I say out of fear, and the other one is you'll do what I say, but I don't know.
Because I'm paying you. I've got a bunch of Cobra gold.
I guess so, yeah. But that reminds me a bit of the Sith from Star Wars, where the apprentice is expected to overthrow the master eventually.
Well, they do very much practice a survival of the fittest. Although I must admit their technique of one lord to one master, one lord master to one apprentice underling, does not help generate a lot of numbers for them. Although they do tend to have like several backup, like other mid apprentices somewhere else in the background.
I don't think they're officially supposed to, but it seems that always happens for some reason.
Well, I'm not certain of this, but it does definitely seem like they believe that their apprentices are going to go through such a high mortality rate. It's good to have a few on the back burner. That way, once you lose your star pupil, bring another one up, and then just maybe hire up another one. As like this guy's a lot of evil in this guy. We'll bring him in. We'll get him onto some nice stuff. Just some low-level evil work. Train his skills up, and if this guy goes out, maybe I'll bring him up, see how well he does for potential.
Well, and when you say backburners, because basically the Return of the Jedi, the end battle of that was the Emperor was basically trying to do that. He wanted Luke as his new apprentice.
Because Darth Vader had so much, synthetic replacements done up. His force powers were a fraction of what they once were, but his kid's still got a lot of potential, and all he's missing is one hand.
Yeah.
That's
so far.
Yeah. Wonderful advances in technology, and they still don't know how to clone their hand back. Yeah. That's okay, because a robot hand's kind of awesome.
I think, yeah, definitely.
But you never saw him do anything later on with it, like use super, strength as the...
That's too bad. That would have been a neat thing to have.
Nice little touch. Yeah. But apparently it wasn't brought up, wasn't needed, so whatever.
But you would have think, at least...
Like they handcuff Luke Skywalker, but they don't know he's got a synthetic hand, so he just reaches over and just snaps one of the handcuffs off like a freaking twig, man.
Yeah, that's true. Except at that point in the show, he was a Jedi and he could have got out just with
Force
the Force.
Unlock, whatever.
But maybe he could, I don't know, in the Battle of Endor, he could have swung on a vine or something with his powerful, or yanked himself up.
Well, I think he could have really shown himself off. They didn't have the abilities, to fully show what they can these days for the Force effects and all that. Like they got Adam flipping out, doing like a Jedi Force power, knocking over stuff here, and then just using his robot hand to just peel open like a door, and with the other ways he's doing two things that I can do whatever I want. I'm super Jedi. And that would have been pretty dang awesome, and really shown what you can do once you're, fully in tune and happen to have a prosthetic hand.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Well, I like the both ways, because I also like there's this, how Yoda is so small and so unassuming.
Until he flips out. Who the man? Yoda the man. As the damn commercial went.
They make the prequels, and he's suddenly a lightsaber master. So
he always was, but mind you, he was like 20 years younger back then, and apparently once you start going downhill, you really go downhill. Because when they found him on Dagobah, his mind was not really all there. He was really losing it.
Yeah.
So, apparently senility was starting to hit him then. Sad to say. Or he was just eating some bad berries in Dagobah and it was bad with his system. I don't know the full story.
But yeah, there was supposed to be some kind of lesson about appearances, but also about the fact that
the Force makes equals out of everybody.
Yeah, his body, it doesn't really matter what his body is.
But Luke is so much bigger than him. His body can hold more midichlorians.
Oh, great. Yeah, I wish we had... Okay.
And let's never mention them again.
Good.
A good idea is a good idea, but a bad idea deserves to be forgotten.
Yeah.
But there you have the Stormtroopers as another classic, Mook minion example.
Yeah, there's another.
They can't hit freaking anything unless it has no plot armor on it. Like they can blow up a planet, they can shoot down ships.
They can burn Luke and Leia's parents.
Oh yes, oh boy, they can burn them just to charred husks. But
or uncle and aunt, I guess.
Yeah, uncle and aunt. Well, they were effectively parents. They filled the parental role.
Yeah, foster parents.
Yeah, and I figure
adopted parents.
I figure they deserve to be properly called his mom and pop, as opposed to uncle.
Well, because Luke never knew his parents. His
no.
I don't think he did. Well, he would have known his mom because. Yeah. They never mentioned much about any of them.
Leia taught. Just that they were in the war, together back in the day.
Yeah, but do you remember Luke asked Leia about his mom, and Leia actually remembered her mom and his mom, like their mom? Leia told him a little story about her smile or something.
Well, that's because her foster parent was much closer to their birth mom, so he would have had more memories.
I think
be a little more open about it. Whereas Uncle, Ben there, he...
Uncle Owen.
Uncle Owen. I call them all Uncle Ben, let's face it.
Okay.
They provide the lessons. It doesn't matter if, they're in Manhattan or on Tatooine, it's Uncle Ben. It's the same guy, just with different face. But he's had a much more traumatic style about the whole thing, and he knows what his father grew up to become. So he, of course, kept much more tight-lipped about that and just said a few things like, yeah, we were in the war together back in the day. That's it. That's all you ever need to know. Pass me the space milk.
Now, Uncle, I can't remember now. I shouldn't. I'm trying to remember who he's related to. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru raised Luke.
Yes.
Are they related to the lady who was in the first movie? The Phantom Menace.
His actual mom? No, I believe Owen was another one of the slave kids that he grew up with.
Oh,
they were just good friends, sort of thing.
Okay,
I think.
That'd be. I should. Well, if I ever watch that show again,
we'll just go hit the Wikipedia.
Yeah, I should watch and see if Owen is like one of the boys or something.
I believe it was mentioned there, just nice and casual. So okay, see you later, Owen. And that was about all. And then he goes in to fix a naked C-3PO.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense, yeah.
So, I think that's about all it is. But yeah, the Wikipedia will have about 17 pages of backstory detailing exactly how everything's connected. Because they're good like that. They're really good like that.
Right. Okay, so the Minions...
so despite the fact that, they had this vast galactic empire... all they were able to get was either, incompetent battle droids or clones that can't hit anybody of any actual importance.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention the very essential element of the evil overlord in any story is that there's always an element of incompetence. There's always an element of they cut corners or they want to get get rich quick.
But that does tend to fail on the long-term view of them, because how did they get to rise to this power and importance if they were constantly taking shortcuts and being generally incompetent? You don't get that high. You might be able to make it to a lieutenant position, but you're not going to make it up to their actual big bad.
Yeah, well, if we talk about the example of Star Wars, it's pretty complicated. And it seems in the first 3 films, Palpatine is very different. Like the Emperor is very different. He's got a different sort of management style, and he almost transforms in the original movies, which become the episode 4, 5, 6. He's a different character. I suppose that might be like the corruption of the Sith or something like that, maybe? I don't know.
Or just, given more chance to be who he really is.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. I mean, I suppose it happens in real life in that a person just simply grows comfortable and gets a bit lazy. A person reaches the pinnacle and becomes Emperor of the Galaxy, and now you just kind of play with your Force lasers. Or
now I'm going to coast, and then anybody who interrupts me gets Force Lightning!
Yeah.
Because admit it, once you get Force Lightning, are you really going to practice other skills? No, you got Force Lightning, buddy. Just blah!
And the thing about the Galactic Republic, and which becomes the Emperor, is it pretty much runs itself for the most part. I mean, it's very big, and it's very interconnected and complicated, but for the most part, people do their own jobs.
A decent amount of free enterprise, make sure the people get what they need. Of course, they're in a weird society where, money still matters. When resources are of such great numbers, you should be using something other than just standard currency. But whatever, that would be too complicated. You're telling a space opera, so I'm willing to let that all get glossed over.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. And I guess it's hard to generalize about...
just theoretically, they should have been able to just get enough ships to go to one of those water planets, get up enough water that they could just douse Tatooine. And forget Desert Planet. Yeah, we can make sure that enough water get dumped here that we can make it all perfect, wonderful planets.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't even have to go to a water planet because well, we don't know this yet, but it's theorized that every star system will have a field of comets around it, and the comets would have enough water. If you just, catch a few comets. Of course...
Yeah, but I'm thinking with the water planet, that way you get to drain out enough water. Maybe you get some more island archipelagos, someplace you can land on.
That's a thought, yeah.
Just make sure it's not a place where the Mon Calamari are. If they got a colony underwater there.
We need that water. What are you doing?
Dude, now we're in fish bowls. What the hell?
Too bad the Empire needs it in the service of the Empire.
Well, okay. Well, just so long as you kill a lot of Bothans for this sort of stuff, I'll be okay. But yeah, it definitely, I find it interesting as to what your resources are for the quality of your minions. Like Cobra Commander, though, not the greatest leader. And we'll say Destro was like a co-commander, because they very much did seem on par as equals. But when he's standing up there laughing, the Joes aren't afraid. They don't fear to rush him because he's going to just beat them flat and senseless. No, because the Joes are, military trained. They're going to trounce some sort of thing eventually in a fight. But the minions are surprisingly competent. They're able to hold the Joes back for a while they get Genghis Khan's DNA and make off with it. Ha ha ha. Evil Plan Part 1A accomplished.
That's interesting. I wonder if that changes our perception of the heroes, like the G.I. Joes. Does that make us see them as more of the tactical kind of it's more important about the military stuff with them? Whereas with heroes in another setting like Luke Skywalker or whatever, we don't really care that he can kill 100, 1,000 stormtroopers. That's not important to us. But with the
unless
G.I.
we're doing who would win sort of fights, and then we got a reference. You could kill 100,000 stormtroopers, so I think you could totally take out Indiana Jones or whoever you want him to fight against.
Yeah,
it will matter then, but no, it doesn't. In the purpose of its own, construct, it doesn't. You don't need to know how many people he can kill.
Han Solo versus Indiana Jones would be a good fight.
Honestly, I see them deciding it ain't worth the fight, and then they go get a beer.
Yeah, are they drinkers?
I see Indiana Jones as a much more recreational drinker than Han Solo, who seems like he would drown himself in booze at the end of a day. A bad day.
Was Indiana Jones the guy in the bar in Tibet or whatever, who drank who did the drinking game with the other guy, and the other guy fell down?
It was either him or his girlfriend for that.
I think it was probably the girl, because that would have more impact. I don't remember if Jones actually
But I recall a few scenes where he does a shot or two sort of thing at the end of the day. Man, I want to see some fan fiction on that.
Indiana Jones gets drunk.
No, Indiana Jones convinces Han Solo to help him be, like a space archaeologist, and that there's some really good finds out there, and then like half of it goes to a museum, half of it goes to smuggling to whoever wants it, and that pays the bills. And then the two of them and Chewie go off and just do space archaeology.
Chewie and what's Indiana Jones' short round or?
Sure, I suppose it could be him. I suppose you really want to. It could be his kid, Shia LaBeouf.
The new.
Yeah.
Well, then we got to add new Star Wars material too. Jar Jar.
No.
Drawing the line at Jar Jar.
Unless he gets thrown off an airlock or something, no.
In every episode. Oh my God, you killed Jar Jar.
Okay, if they can bring him back to him again just to do that, I would totally go for that bit too. But no, I actually wouldn't mind seeing that. Now, they wind up running afoul of some Hutts who want an old Huttese artifact. There's your plot for the story. Write some nice fandom. Bam. Notoriety.
Oh, that's so, like intergalactic archaeology.
I know, right?
Been done. I don't think that's been done.
Jean-Luc Picard did a little bit of it. It was kind of like an amateurish type thing for him. But never a big focus on it.
Not like Indiana Jones, like Indiana Jones.
Da 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 da. Warp 1! Pshoo! Yeah. I think, actually, if you want to, get the concepts out of the whole thing, refine it down to its own unique sort of setting, you could really make a decent TV series out of that.
Yeah, it could be its own thing. It doesn't even have to be the two properties. Although
it'd probably be a little easier if it's not the two properties.
Yeah, because you don't have to pay for licenses or get permission or anything like that.
Just a badass space archaeologist, man.
Just call it just space archaeologist.
Xenoarchaeology.
Ooh.
See, a nice title like that, nice big impressive title. And then you get Nathan Fillion to play the lead role. I think he'd make a nice... he's got a nice strong jawline. He's a good guy. He could do the cheesy lines. He could do the dramatic lines. It all comes out with him.
Okay. All right. Well...
there we go.
I guess we'll gift this to the universe. We'll say whoever's listening, just give us credit
just
for the
just
idea.
Make a, idea, buy it, and the credits sort of thing, like what they do with Batman and Bob Kane.
So, there you go.
Yeah, I'm totally up for all... I will make a point of watching that, and I may wind up signing up for extra channels on my cable package if it means seeing that series.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's got to have that George guy from the Ancient Aliens stuff.
Oh, George, I don't know. For Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, the whole, it's like, did Ancient Aliens come down?
Okay.
And it's the George guy who always believes it was aliens. Aliens, man. It wasn't gods. Those gods don't exist. It must have been aliens that helped us build the pyramids, sort of thing. So as long as he gets like an occasional reference, it's like a competitor xenoarchaeologist who's got the far out theories, sometimes right, just for added kicks.
Although now that you mention Ancient Aliens, Stargate had that sort of theme.
But it was never really the focus on the archaeology and the old traps with the old alien stuff or old human technology.
That's true, and I'm actually kind of surprised that it didn't go more in that direction, because that was the movie was sort of based on that idea.
The movie was also weird in a couple of contexts. You see it again, it's like, whoa, this was the big hit of 1994? I can see it, but that's a little weird.
Well, I watched it not too long ago. I just loved it. I liked it.
I do like it. If for no other reason than it's just loaded to the gills with style. So anything with that much style, I'm going to just at least give it a passing mark. Because you tried. You put some artsy style out there, good on you. You made the world a little more colorful, a little richer. Even if, for some reason, the evil villain surrounded by a bunch of young kids, just all fawning around being creepy. Oh well, whatever. They were host bodies in case, the main one gets hurt. So
how's that for a minion there?
Yeah, so they were almost kind of like one of those weird, like, Brides of Dracula sort of thing, where they just kind of show up, act all creepy, and then don't really do anything. The background minion.
Yeah.
But yes, okay, so the point I was trying to make is that the less competent the main guy was, like Cobra Commander was not seen as being hugely competent. He did not invoke fear in the heroes. Mm-hmm. The more competent the minions were to compensate, to make sure that the villainous or group poses like some sort of a threat.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
And, well, I noticed this in the old Mutant Ninja Turtles TV series. Occasionally, Shredder would be, like, he'd jump in on a scene, 4, hits or kicks, and bam, all turtles down. Like, one punch takes out one, or one kick takes out one, bam, 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 he's down. Other times, he trips on his cape.
Oh, huh.
So sometimes he was greatly competent, sometimes he was like, just borderline, you wonder how he got out of bed without blinding himself. And then, occasionally, these two main mutants, Bebop and Rocksteady, sometimes they were able to fight the turtles to a standstill. Mm-hmm. Other times, they were a joke, man. It's like, oh, we're gonna fight them, and I throw something at them. Oh, haha! Now they're stuck in a wall. Haha! That's it. Let's go on.
Well, isn't that sort of realistic? Because I'm thinking of Jackie Chan and all the outtakes you see at the end of the movie, because he does this super awesome move where he slips through a ladder or whatever, and then it's at the end of the movie you're like, oh, I wonder how he did that, and so they do like 10 takes of him like hurting himself on the same thing.
Yeah, but at least he shows, by and large, with the general moves, a consistent level of being able to do this. He might not be able to jump up the wall to the top every time, but he can get over halfway, which is far more than you or I will be able to get up a wall anytime soon.
Yeah,
so we'll struggle like a bad alley cat, just flailing. Let's admit it. That's how good we are. Especially not just jump it with your feet back and forth up on the corner until you're at the top.
Yeah, that takes some professional
and some really strong leg muscles. You got to know exactly where to apply and kick back and forth. But yeah, he can show that one. Whereas sometimes, with the Ninja Turtles, Shredder's incompetent, but Bebop, Rocksteady are able to, oppose the Turtles very well. Sometimes they're a joke, but 4 strikes later, Shredder's taken all Turtles down.
Yeah, I see. I guess you sort of have a level, you have to keep that threat level going in order to the story.
It's like you have a grand pool of professional villainous competence, and the more one person takes from it, the less everyone else has.
It could be, yeah. And now, do you think that's kind of unfortunate, or do you think that works, or that's a good thing to keep in mind as you're writing a story? Or?
A tad unfortunate, because it doesn't present the villain in a unified style. Mm-hmm. If the villain is sometimes great, sometimes so incompetent, you don't need the heroes there. They'll wind up self-sabotaging, and then the day is saved because of nobody, really. Then, it's not really all that heroic.
Well, every once in a while you see a movie like that where it's like, the hero didn't really need to be there.
Exactly, and that's kind of a shame. How much of a hero are you if you weren't needed?
Yeah.
So I do like a villain that is consistently presented, and someone that presents real opposition. So ideally, it would be someone like No Heart leading the Cobra, troops, presenting this wonderful unified force. Like you cannot directly confront these people. They're great for tactics, and they got huge numbers, and they got tanks and stuff. Mm-hmm. You can't fight them face on. You've got to be very careful how you fight them. You got to be tactically wise. And I love a person, like a hero that has the philosophy, a good strategy beats pure strength. Because that is a better lesson for a lot of people to learn. Sometimes you can't just brute force it, and most of the time you shouldn't want to.
Yeah, that's probably true. And good strategy also, it's a challenge for a writer and challenge for the people who are making the TV shows. Like, we got a deadline, we got to think of a good strategy. Well, there's no good way out of this. I guess the villain trips.
See, but I wouldn't mind them having even do a really open nod and wink to it. Like there's a middle agent, not a good guy, not a bad guy, just like some sort of agent of chaos called a Deadline. When they can't think the reason out, Deadline makes an appearance, winds up, bam! He does some sort of trick, shot with a projectile weapon. The villain's cape gets stuck to the floor, and then poof, he disappears. There goes Deadline. I think that would be just a wonderful nod to the fact that, yeah, okay, you can't always write at the pace you'd like. You have to come up with a solution because you've got 30 minutes before, the end of the day. It's Friday. You don't want to get stuck in traffic. So, deadline. Oh, the mysterious agent of chaos.
I like that. Are we gifting that to the world out there, or are you keeping it
partial gifting? I do reserve the use for my own purposes to create a... it's not really a hero, not really a villain. We'll just call it an anarchist character called Deadline.
Yeah.
I think it would work well with some of the other ideas I have. I got one for a villain whose power is that he messes up your timeline. You get too close to him, and all of a sudden, he is your father, or he's the one that that killed your family and salted the farmland with chemicals so that nothing would ever grow. And that just being around him gives you headaches and all that. You get away from him. You throw him in jail and get away. The timeline returns to normal. Everything goes back to how it is. But he's the personification of really bad plot writing and all the convolutions that come out of this dramatic storyline where no one considered consequences. So him and Deadline, I think, would be really nice open nods to just like puppet characters for farce. So I'm going to keep them and maybe see what else I can pull together and come up with a really nice collection of oddball antagonists.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
yeah, more on Minions.
But yes, I would like to see the villain presented cohesively dangerous or cohesively moderately competent, as opposed to sometimes great, sometimes not all that good.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's something to be said for consistency, but
it presents more character, more unified character. And I get that a lot of these people are technically being written by groups, so not everybody's, writing on the same sort of page as to exactly who these people are. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with a little bit of a fractured view, but it should be the more cohesive you can get it, the more it feels like this is a character, not, it's this guy writing him again this week. He never liked this guy. That's why he definitely portrays him as being self-sabotaging, instead of like the master genius who never sees the small flaws in his own plan.
Yeah. Well, I've talked a little bit about, because this is, I'll bring up the example of Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny, in that this is not a tale of good versus evil. This is a tale of, Elmer Fudd is basically stupid versus smart, because Bugs Bunny is smart, Elmer Fudd is stupid. And it's not that it's evil to shoot rabbits, because a lot of us shoot rabbits, and I've never shot a rabbit, but I have actually, should I admit, I have slaughtered a rabbit. And
not like, you snuck up on it in the middle of the night. You did it the proper way.
How you're supposed to butcher a rabbit.
Yes.
So basically that puts me on Elmer Fudd's side. And so I see these sort of grand tales in those sort of terms, in that stupid is on the evil side and good is on the smart side.
Although, if you watch some of the much older Bugs Bunny stuff, it's not always Elmer Fudd as a hunter. It can be Elmer Fudd as a camper or a photographer or painter, and it'll be Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck just endlessly antagonizing them. So it'll be peaceful versus chaotic.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's the whole issue breaking down, whereas I can see Elmer Fudd's position as a hunter. On the other hand, Bugs Bunny is speaking to him. Don't shoot anybody who can talk to you. Yeah, so by and large, if they can communicate with you, don't shoot them.
Okay, good rule of thumb, yeah.
Even if it's only through sign language, or because Wile E. Coyote doesn't always speak, he holds up little placards from behind his back. So yeah, don't shoot him either. He's clearly showing signs of sentience.
Did Wile E. Coyote and Elmer Fudd ever fight? They probably did. There's so many cartoons. But that'd be a good.
It was
fight.
never a big thing for them. I know there was one episode where Bugs Bunny took the Roadrunner's place.
Yeah, I can see that.
I definitely would have liked to have seen some interesting, fun potential done with that sort of stuff. Just mixing up the hero versus the villain. So this time around it's Sylvester the Cat versus Daffy Duck.
It'd be a fun card game. That might exist somewhere.
We never get the rights to it. You'd never be able to afford it. But I think it would be very interesting. Because I do recall some Elmer Fudd versus Daffy Duck back in the day.
Yeah.
And I will say, Elmer Fudd did, wind up getting the tar beat out of him in a boxing ring because of some cheating fights. But in the end, he was able to play it back, and the whole scene ends with him effectively beating up Daffy Duck the same way he got beat up earlier. So in that case, it wasn't exactly a dumb versus smart or good versus evil. It was more of a
dumb versus dumb.
For lack of any better word, yeah. It was more like, two antagonists going at it, and there was no real defined protagonist. Daffy Duck was really high on the Daffy part of things there, and Elmer Fudd was classic Elmer Fudd, so there's no real good guy. Except for perhaps his hunting dog. The hunting dog was played fairly ambivalently. So.
Yeah, okay.
Which is an interesting thing to bring up for Minions, is in this case, Elmer Fudd was seen as the evil duck hunter, but his hunting dog was portrayed as just, you're just a tool of the hunting man.
Yeah, and
so,
you're not necessarily evil.
No, they're very much, in the D&D terms, presented as differing alignments.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't regularly seen. Almost all the time the Mook is presented as just being a lesser version of the villain. But I think it could be very interesting to see a situation where the villain is really villainous, but the minions are not seen as being villainous. They're just an opposing force or, neutral sort of thing, in opposition.
Well, did you see the later versions of Aladdin, like 2, 3, and the cartoon?
I love the third one. The second one, not that great. If it was released by anybody other than Disney, it would have been, put it up in the movie theater sort of thing, but not to their previous par.
Well, do you remember, I don't know which movie it was that Iago turned. And Iago became sort of a good guy.
At the end of the first one, he kind of semi-redeemed himself.
Okay, yeah.
But in the end of the third one, he found himself semi-reformed, but going away with a semi-good guy.
Right, yeah.
No spoiler alerts, so
no spoilers. But yeah, you do get that storyline from time to time where the bad guy, I don't know, he gets his comeuppance. He never gets redeemed or whatever. He's, gets thrown into a pit or thrown in jail, but the minion might, because the minion is kind of
so bad. Yeah, he's more of a comedic relief for the villain to keep things going in a snappy pattern.
And often too, the minion, it might not happen in the actual story that the minion gets redeemed or whatever, but fan fiction will be about, oh well, I like that character, so we'll say he became a good guy or something.
I know they also did the redemption of it was that Anastasia cartoon they did. With the evil villain was the mad monk himself, the immortal guy, but his minion was like a bat, like Batov or Batley or whatever his name was, and they actually came out with a sequel where it's like the redemption of him.
Yeah. So that's a trope, I guess.
Or I suppose a good one would be, for example, of Kronk and Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove. Kronk isn't evil. He's just stupid and will attach himself to anybody who's willing to like his crab spinach puffs.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that's a very nice example, but it's not all that frequent compared to other times where you see villain is big bad, minions are little bad.
Yeah, and then the hero just kind of mows through the minions.
Whereas I would definitely like a situation where the villains are, the big bad, but the henchmen are effectively duped mooks. They just don't know that they're working on the bad side. That way it presents an interesting ethical conundrum. Is it all right for me to beat the tar out of them just because they're opposing me?
Yeah.
But they think they're doing good. They don't actively know they're trying to usurp, the natural order of things and cause a coup.
Actually, that gives me an idea I would like to see in a movie or a video game or whatever. Is that instead of the hero encountering, the hero still encounters line after line of enemy, shooters or fighters or whatever, the standard lineup of challenges.
Yeah, the physical challenge that keep you going from wonderful locations.
Except that in each one, the hero's basically every single encounter, except maybe, one or two where the hero, but most of them, the hero is like, oh, why don't you join us? We have this, this, and this. And can you imagine if one after the others, the Mooks are like, oh, you're right. Here, I'll put down my gun or whatever. I'll join your side. And, they move on to the next challenge. And then the hero does the
with
same
the
thing
overwhelming
again.
force of personality.
Like, overwhelm them
that
with
would be a very
the power
interesting.
of love,
Yeah,
or
that would be
flower power.
Or just he's smart enough to be able to convince them. Maybe it's technically they're still going, not the right thing, but at least he's convincing them that they're doing it for the right cause this time.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very interesting way of going about it, especially in a situation where you've got like those sort of like a lost society of people that believe, I'm protecting the outsiders, all outsiders are demons. Like, no, I'm not. I'm able to convince you. And thus he changes the tide of public opinion as he goes from location to location. And the more minions the evil villain throws at him to protect his own status only winds up strengthening him, but not because he's defeating them and leveling up, but because he's changing the tide of public opinion. That would be a wonderful way of doing it. And then that way you avoid the whole Nazi issue.
Right.
The problem with World War II at the end was you got a lot of Nazis, people that were in the Nazi army.
Yeah.
Now you got rid of Hitler; he's dead. And his bad guy, his lieutenants and all his main underlings, they're all in jail and they're going into some nasty trials. What do you do with the tens of thousands of foot soldiers?
Yeah, well, they had a huge campaign, they literally re-education, which, I mean...
But that was mostly perfunctory. The people were doing it because, if they didn't, they'd go into a concentration camp. There was not enough oppositional force to say, no, this war is kind of stupid. Let's not go to it. And so, everyone, as they said, they were marching for fear. But it became the whole concept that it was like, this is why people keep imagining Hitler with amazing supernatural powers and stuff, is he swayed them, and that when he was gone, everybody became the standard good Germans again. There's nothing wrong with them. And so you don't have to worry about the fact that, no, this Hans that you're working with right now on the automobile stuff, 15 years ago, he was shooting at your dad.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that so much because, no, that was Hitler's charismatic, persuasive speeches that made everyone want to do that.
Well, this happens from time to time in that, basically British soldiers or American soldiers or French people or Canadians from our side will actually, some of them are still alive, and some of them will meet and reconcile and become friends with the German soldiers from the other side.
Well, keep in mind there was that whole Christmas Day incident where they stopped the trench warfare and they just came up and they shared food, just kind of partied for a while. Next day they're bombing each other again, doom doom doom, and then just we'll try and sap them and put bombs underneath their bunkers.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing because both sides. Well, in our era, both sides are now on the same side, and there's
it's like that one person who noted what was weird with Japan is back in the 40s. Oh my goodness, they were perceived as evil. When Bugs Bunny dropped an anvil on their head, they did not recover. Their skull broke and they bled.
Yeah.
And then half a century later, they're making all our electronic equipment.
And they're making South Korea is doing the cartoons.
Yes. So it's just weird in that sense that, let's see, 40 years, that's 2 generations. 2 generations ago, they were perceived as a villainous enemy, and the horrible racist caricatures were used without, any, maybe we're going a little too far here. No, we put them in and we make them look subhuman. 2 generations later, we are so buddy-buddy with them. If they were to close their doors, we would be really hooped for high-end technology for at least 6 months as we had to build new plants of our own to get the whole stuff through.
Yeah, true.
So, but it's one of the weird things about Mooks, though, where you can really get away with presenting them with a different, moral alignment than the big bads. And this is one that was wonderfully presented in the Christmas Day thing. The people forcing them to go to war were not on the battlefield that day. Neither side that were actually present cared to fight each other on Christmas Day, so they got up and they had a Christmas party. Because the will to fight wasn't them. It was the higher-ups there, and that's why people are able to see, oh yes, Hitler was the reason that everybody was evil and Nazi. Now that he's gone, it's all okay. But watch them, just in case.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there's both elements. There's the redemption, and there's also, there's the people who are never really bad to begin with.
Which is something I think would be very interesting to see in a movie involving Nazis. Like a decent amount of Nazis just doing it because, dude, if I don't do this, I'm going off to those the concentration camps too, and I'm going to shoot you even though I really don't support this cause. I would like to see that. Just a bit more nuance, because let's face it, not every American or non-German European that was fighting with the side of the Allies was a noble hero.
That's true too.
Some people were probably very psychotic and just wanted to shoot guns until they killed someone. And it was very good for us that we had an enemy for them to shoot at, because then everybody on our side wins.
Yeah. Well, it's because the war was very mechanized. It probably felt like you were just going to work, except that every day you went to work, a couple of your buddies were not going with you, or
Yeah, you had to haul them back off.
It's just a very unpleasant work, and then your buddies.
No safety compliance going on at all. OSHA is not there at all. It's horrible.
Well, in some weird ways, I'm sure there was sort of safety regulations, on your own side, of course.
Don't smoke on top of the munitions supply, boxes, please.
They probably had some kind of rule like that, or maybe not. I mean,
I hope they did.
I hope so. And then every once in a while, it'd be like, oh yeah, today's the day we get shelled and bombed and everything. So,
yeah.
Or today's the day that you all go over the top. But that was a different
Today we're going to test out the 100-foot flamethrower and see if we can burn the enemies to a crisp. Once that's done, we have a few hatches that are going to pop up out of the no man's land. You're going to come up, swarm, and kill everybody that's not dead and dying and burnt. Yeah, and that was World War I towards the end.
Yeah, number one. All right. Well, we've been talking for 100 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So, final verdict. Do you think it's an okay thing to have this pool of villainous competency, or would it be better off to have a little bit more nuance in there if you got the time and the ability to work with it?
Wow, what should you do?
What is your personal preference for it? Should it just be big bad and little bads, and they just go up against the hero and make it just a classic style fight? Or do you think it's worth the time and the effort to come up with the more nuanced little characters? These guys aren't really all that bad, but the main villain, he's horrible. He's, nastiness incarnate.
I guess my style, I don't know if it's everybody's style, but my style is to go ahead and give everybody flaws. Give the top level guys flaws and have them make stupid decisions, and give the low level guys different kinds of flaws. And then the heroes can make mistakes too, and the whole thing is just one stupid move after another.
If you play it right, it's not stupid moves. It does feel like real people fighting in less than optimal conditions.
Yeah. So that's kind of my...
If you fail it, of course, it does look like everyone's throwing the idiot ball around, though.
Yeah, and so if you're a bad writer, or if you just forget something or don't get something right, you can just, later on, you can say, well, they just obviously they didn't have perfect
forgot it in the heat of combat, man.
Yeah, I mean... So you can use that excuse that your characters are flawed, not you as a writer.
All right. Okay, my verdict is I do appreciate the more nuanced thing if you can pull it off. If you're not fully convinced that you can pull off a much more nuanced villain-minion combination, probably not worth the extra effort, because if you fail, it's even worse than not trying, just making it just simple and easier. That said, what's your desirability for the main evil big bad villain's competency? Should they be inspiring fear when the heroes see them? Should they change their tactics, duck and cover, scramble? Don't face them head on, not just run up and try and beat them on the skull? Even if that is their favorite fighting technique?
I guess I prefer a bad guy that runs, that lives to fight another day. Even though that probably will draw out the book or the whatever, because you have to have another encounter. But
well, I'm thinking more in a serial format anyways.
Yeah. So that actually gives you more material to work with.
Yeah. That means you can bring them back again next week. Or month. However, you're doing your serial style. Alright. I dig that too. And I really do like a villain that inspires fear.
Mm-hmm.
That really makes the people think twice about what they're doing. Really make sure they say to themselves, I got to get this just right, otherwise I'm toast.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good.
There's our final verdict.
Here's our final. I want to remind everybody we have an email address to email us, thesimulationist@gmail.com, and we can be found at all your favorite social networking sites like Facebook.
But not MySpace.
Actually, we don't have a MySpace. Well, not yet anyway.
Not yet, and
I don't think we will.
No, there's not much of an urge. If you could convince us, though, do send us a line. See what you can do.
One of the other social networking sites, which we are on.
If you consider us the villain and that the MySpace is the hero, and you believe yourself to be the charismatic character, do try and convert us. We appreciate a good challenge.
We like it. Hey, thanks for listening. I've been Josh Trelevin.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Send us money.